to rotate, and he will rotate. Maybe that will help with the injury situation we talked about with Neto. Again, the stats there. 20 Premier League appearances last season for Wolves because of those 2 hamstring injuries. 18 Premier League appearances the season before that. The season before that, even fewer, 13 league appearances. And his highest in that time was the season before that, the 2020-2021 season, when he made 32 Premier League appearances. So that might help if the squad doesn't come down dramatically, that there's a bit more scope for rotation this season.
OK, let's go from Chelsea to Tottenham, because, Michael, they went into the window, didn't they? And we were always speaking about Tottenham wanting to strengthen up front. It's taken a little while, but they are very close now, and it's a big one.
It is a big one, and yes, it's taken a while, but if all going well, they will have their new striker in the side or in the squad when they face Leicester City on the Monday Night Football, the opening Premier League weekend, and that player is Dominic Solanke. A fee of £55 million plus 10 million add-ons has been agreed, and a medical will be underway Friday evening, going into Saturday, and hopefully for Spurs, that deal will get completed. It's big money, but it's a player that they really back, they really like. They've spoken about Daniel Levy, Johan Langer, Tottenham's transfer committee, and most importantly, Ange Postecoglou. He is the player Ange Postecoglou signalled out and said, this is the player I want. Yes, he's an out-and-out forward, but he's also one who can drop into a 10, can play wide, and he really impressed last season for Bournemouth, and will consider himself a tad unlucky that he probably didn't make England's squad for the European Championships. But that potentially is good news for Spurs, because he's had an extended break, and he will arrive at Tottenham, all being well, fully fit and raring to go. And we also understand he is very, very keen on the move, which is always a great help. So yes, Spurs are very, very close to getting this done. Dominic Solanke to Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah,
you said Ange Postecoglou has singled him out as the player that he wanted, but he won't tell us that publicly, will he? And he explains now why, when he's asked these questions about transfers and if there are players coming in or out of the club, he's quite reluctant to let people know what the hell is going on. This is what Ange Postecoglou said.
It's a bit like the treasurer, or what do you call me, the exchequer. If I speculate, stock markets could crash, mate, or in our world, Twitter or X, whatever, it could go in a meltdown if I start speculating about things. So, look, it's fair to say we've still got some work to do in the transfer window, and hopefully, those kind of things, well, they will get resolved. It's a little bit difficult for me because I don't have a control over that to kind of be definitive about it. But like I said, I'm hopeful that over the next sort of few days there'll be some resolution, both ins and outs.
Yeah, not giving much away. You don't expect him to either, Michael. They could go into the season, Tottenham, with Dominic Solanke and Richarlison. Do you think they'd like to bring in another attacker?
I certainly wouldn't rule it out. Of course, they re-signed Timo Werner on a loan. They've got Brennan Johnson, Kulusevski, club captain Heung-min Son, who can play as a striker and as a wide forward. But I wouldn't completely rule it out. I don't think anything will be happening over the next week or so. It could be something later on in the window. We know there was interest in Jacob Ramsey of Aston Villa, Conor Gallagher, and an energetic midfielder. Of course, Pierre-Emile Haubier has joined Marseille. We have to wait potential outgoings. I think maybe another fullback and a midfielder, but a wide forward is certainly not ruled out at this moment in time.
Yeah, interesting. So that's a potential £65 million deal, but the biggest Premier League deal this summer could be a departure. Julian Alvarez is closing in on an £82 million move to Atletico Madrid. So will Manchester City replace him?
He won't leave. He won a new challenge. Atletico Madrid is a top club in Spain, in Europe, and when they suggest me through the club that he want to leave, I said, it's okay if you want to leave. I was just happy. Imagine stay here when he doesn't want to stay. But at the same time, I have to reach an agreement with both clubs. It's happened. Both clubs are happy. Wish him all the best. Looking forward to see him back to say bye to all of us. And yeah, nothing more than that. So it was a joy to work with him. I learned a lot of him because the manager learned a lot with the players, and hopefully he can find what he was looking for. So
I think you've said that you would only go into the transfer market to replace a first-team player. Does this count as replacing a first-team player? What are the chances that you do bring someone in to replace Julian?
I don't know yet. We talk every day. We see what happens. I don't know yet.
Yeah, that's interesting there from Pep Guardiola. Michael, what do you think? Do you think City will be tempted to go into the market to replace Alvarez?
Firstly, I think around 82 million is an incredible profit for a player. Of course, the Manchester City fans dearly love, but it's not an out-and-out first-teamer. He's had Erling Haaland ahead of him, so it's brilliant money for Manchester City. And to answer your question, I just listening to Pep Guardiola there and the body language, you feel like maybe they could do with a bit of a lift, maybe bring one or two in, because I really do like the look of Arsenal, what they're doing at the moment. They're looking stronger and stronger. You were there the other night at the Emirates watching Arsenal, and they look good. I know it's only pre-season, but they look good, didn't they?
They're motivated, they're improving every year, and that's the big challenge for Manchester City this year. So every decision they make in the transfer market has to be right. And, you know, they sold Cole Palmer, and he's had such a great season at Chelsea. This time, at least Alvarez is going abroad. He's not going to another Premier League club, but they just need to continue to tweak and find the balance of their squad. Pep Guardiola has done that so well and so consistently, but this season's going to be, it could be as tight as it has been for them, with Arsenal continually on the rise.
Yeah, and if you think about what Atletico Madrid are doing just now, £82 million all in for Julian Alvarez, and £36 million Conor Gallagher as well. It's not done quite yet, but it is close now, isn't it?
Yep, he's in Madrid. He's been having his medical 5-year contract, £34 million deal for the England midfielder, and I think Atletico have been tweeting as well. They haven't confirmed it officially yet, but of course we expect this to happen. He's been looking around the stadium. He's been taking in the Madrid sunshine, and yeah, Conor Gallagher is going to be a Atletico Madrid player leaving Chelsea.
Gentlemen, thank you for now. Just a bit of breaking news to bring you concerns Aaron Wan-Bissaka and that proposed move from Manchester United to West Ham United. I'm told it is progressing. The deal is being kind of held up because of the exit terms that Wan-Bissaka is trying to sort out with Manchester United. A lot of the details between the clubs and the personal terms seem to have been agreed in principle, but I'm told now that that deal is progressing, and of course, if and when that does get over the line, it's expected Manchester United will progress with a deal for Bayern Munich's right back, Noussair Mazraoui. It is all happening. And coming up next, we are joined by Alex Levac, the agent of Arsenal defender Ben White. Stay with us. Yeah, welcome back to Friday's transfer show. And as promised, we have been joined by Alex Levac, the agent of Ben White. Alex, thanks so much for giving up your time to join us this evening. I just want to start off, first of all, with what you've made of the transfer window so far as a whole, particularly because this has felt like a different one with all of the issues with profit and sustainability rules as well.
It's definitely made it more interesting, and there's been kind of like two windows, hasn't there? There's been the one that's the 31st of June, and obviously the one coming up, well, the 30th of June, sorry, 30th of June, and then obviously the one now. And I think you can see from this week it's really starting to hot up, and there's a lot of bigger deals happening, a lot of larger transactions, and it's definitely becoming more exciting now.
From a personal viewpoint, have you had a busy one?
We've had a fairly busy one, but we keep it quite small and manageable. The way that we represent our players is from like a 360 view. So we cover everything in their lives. So if we had 100 clients, it'd be impossible to look after them properly. So we represent them in a holistic 360 manner. So we are very manageable and we're not like stressed and we don't have to get deals done. We haven't got shareholders to answer to. So we make sure the deals are done to the right places at the right time.
Alex, we've alluded to it before, but because of maybe the Euros and the Copa America, we think it's going to be busy. Did you expect it because of maybe the international tournaments as well?
Definitely. There's always kind of goes on hold a little bit. You get the early surge where there's some deals happening, but then the tournaments are there, everything goes on hold a bit, and then now I think we're going to see 3 weeks of some really interesting stuff.
And Alex, what would you say is the biggest challenge for an agent representative in today's football?
I think the biggest challenges we face is it's really saturated market. So there's a lot of agents out there now. Some purport to be agents but aren't really doing much business. Some very good, some not so good. And I just think that everyone's tapping your players up. So you've just got to be comfortable in your relationship with your players, make sure you're on top of the job, doing the right things for the right reasons, and you keep hold of them.
Just picking up on that, sorry, Michael, you said that, you've got maybe competition from agents tapping up players.
Sure.
So when you said before you've got a more holistic view with regard to your players and you've got a smaller amount of players not having to answer to anyone, does that help with the trust? And then they will effectively come to you and say, this guy's trying to tap me up here. I just want to let you know.
Yeah, for sure, because when you've got a smaller amount of clients and you genuinely care, which we do genuinely care, then you can't fake that. You get that feeling, and I think that they know that we are trying our best and doing what's best for them. For us, money is a byproduct of what we do. It's not our sole focus.
You look after Ben, but it's not just about securing a good transfer for him, is it? Or just a good new contract. There's a lot more to it than that, isn't there?
Absolutely. I've represented Ben for over 10 years now. So we've built that real foundation of trust with himself and his family. So basically, we manage most of Ben's off-the-field life. So what we want to do is basically take everything off of his hands. So all he's got to worry about is training, matches, and then he frees up his time to spend with his family and his closest friends and the people he wants to see.
Alex, we had Luke Dowling on earlier on in this week, and he was giving us the perspective of a transfer window and deals between clubs from a sporting director perspective. From your perspective, from a player's representative, can you talk us through layman's terms, a deal? How does it happen chronologically? How does it work? When do you get involved?
It's hard because every deal's different. Some you can obviously prep for and it's done over a period of time. Some are very reactional, depending on contract length, depending on what fees are being asked. Is there a buyout? So there's so many different variables that can contribute to a transfer. So it's really hard to give you a specific kind of play-by-play for each transfer. But I'll give you an example. Last year, we had a player, he's an international player, and he was in a club in England. And basically, we didn't have anything last 4 days of the window. So myself and one of the guys that works with us, we were camped in our office, sleeping on the sofa, literally every waking minute, hour on the phone trying to get something done. So one night we'd go to bed and there was nothing on the table. You wake up the next day, there was 2 or 3 things on the table, and it's just mayhem.
So you're actually phoning the clubs. Who are you speaking to? You're speaking to
Sporting directors, contacts at clubs, because obviously you've got various different decision makers. But yeah, it can be, those last few days can be absolutely wild. And I think that's the part that a lot of people don't see. And when you actually do care, you're putting in that time.
Obviously, agents don't always get the best press generally, but why do you think that is? And is it fair?
I think any industry where there's obviously a lot of money involved, you're going to attract good, bad and indifferent. And I think agencies are the same. There's some very good ones, there's some not so good ones. I mean, the way that I've operated, I've been in business since 2000, and it's always been key to me to build a clean reputation. And I'd like to believe that if you ask most people within football, they would say, first and foremost, I'm a decent human being. So that's how we try to differentiate ourselves from the others.
Decent golfer as well, by the way.
Wouldn't say that.
Tell us about the process of when you got Ben White from Brighton to Arsenal, he signed a new contract. You mentioned sporting director there. I've had the pleasure of speaking to Edu, who seems like a really good guy. What's it like when you deal with decent sporting directors in the process of a transfer and a new contract?
Sure, it makes life a lot easier. You know, if you've got the transparency and you've got the honesty, there's no skullduggery going on. They're not trying to, you know, get one up on you on here or there. So it makes it a lot easier. With Arsenal, it was fairly smooth. I think when you've got 2 parties that both want the same outcome, Ben had done really well for a couple of years. He was very happy there. The club wanted to keep him. But what we did is we're very data and statistics based. So we enlisted a company and paid a fair fee for it to basically compile a report. So it would benchmark Ben for Arsenal, benchmark his value within the market. So we're not just going in there licking our finger and saying, right, this is what we want because we've heard him and him and him is on that money. We've actually gone there with a structured view, whereas actually it's objective.
You said everyone was happy, he wanted to stay, Arsenal wanted him to stay, but was there ever a stage in these negotiations where you thought, we've hit a bit of a stalemate here, this might not happen?
I never didn't think it would happen. I never didn't think it wouldn't happen, but you're always going to have some impasse. It's never just going to go so smooth unless they come with, you know, a ridiculous figure and it just gets done. There's always some intricacies that you need to discuss that are maybe things that people from the outside in don't really know or see.
Alex, you know I was going to ask you this question. Look, Ben has been in the headlines, making himself unavailable for England in recent months. Can you share and confirm what that reason was?
It's a difficult one. We've dealt with this in a real private manner, and we would like to continue to do so. I mean, there's been a lot said by various different outlets and people, but I think we're going to remain quiet on that.
But just on that, though, I hear, you know, I listen to the radio, I listen to pundits on TV, and everyone seems to have an opinion, particularly when this story came out.
Sure. Without
any real knowledge of what had happened. How was Ben when all of this was happening, and how were you?
It's hard because obviously, you know, in one sense, you want people to hear something so the noise kind of goes away. But we just removed ourselves from the situation. And, you know, there are reasons and they'll be remaining private.
So, remove yourself from the situation. But now, there's a new manager incoming. There's obviously Lee Carsley, who's going to be there in interim charge as well. So, Ben White for England again, potentially?
I think it's all hype. It's all if, buts and maybes. It's just hard to comment at the minute. It's not something we've spoken in depth about. So I suppose kind of wait and see.
I suppose it will come to a pass when the squad is named, and
sure,
if or in the lead up to that squad being named, that's when he'll have to make a decision, because at the moment he doesn't have to, does he?
Exactly. I think he's going to focus on Arsenal and hopefully them mounting a title challenge again. Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the Transfer Show this Friday evening. Tried to get a few things out of you, and I think you were pretty fair, so thank you very much indeed. Thanks, guys. Coming up next, how West Ham United pipped Juventus to a centre-back. That's on the way, plus the latest on Newcastle United's pursuit of Mark Guehi.
The transfer show. What a window it has been so far for West Ham United. 3 signings in the past week. Crescencio Somerville arrived from Leeds. Borussia Dortmund sold Nicholas Füllkrug to West Ham, and Guido Rodriguez joined on a free transfer as well. And it looks like they're not stopping there, because they're about to beat Juventus to a new centre-back. Paul.
Yep.
Nice defender, Jean-Claire Todibo. Where's this one up to?
So, Todibo has completed his West Ham medical. We told you that in the last hour or so, and there could be an announcement in the next 24 hours. The deal is a loan with an option to buy next summer for around £34.2 million. West Ham's technical director, Tim Steidten, has been heavily involved, influential in this. Remember, there was strong, well, more than strong interest from Juventus. Juventus were very much in discussions and in the mix to sign him. But he is seemingly on the way to West Ham. He's going to be a West Ham player. So great work continues there in terms of the signings they have made. Not so long ago, he was attracting interest from the likes of Tottenham and Manchester United. So this feels like a real statement signing for West Ham, and it continues the kind of feel-good mood around West Ham as they adapt to life after David Moyes.
Yeah, just an addition on that deal. We know it's an initial loan with an option, but we understand that the option can easily become an obligation to buy depending on a certain amount of appearances. And apparently it is pretty easy to get from that option to the obligation. So all being well, West Ham United not only will have him on loan, but be on a permanent deal as well. And just a little bit on this deal. It's very interesting how this transpired. And you mentioned the work that Tim Steidten has done generally with West Ham, but in particular with this deal, because last month, West Ham United had actually agreed a deal with Nice for Jean-Claire Todibo. But I think West Ham were pretty accepting that he was going to end up at Juventus, because he wanted to go there and Juventus was still in talks. But there's been around 3 or 4 weeks of talks between Juventus and Nice, and there was no resolution between Juventus and Nice over this deal. And I think Tim Steidten and West Ham United just let Nice know, we've agreed this deal with you. At the time, it was a loan with a €32 million option fee. If you can't work it out with Juventus, just remember our deal's still on the table. It's not going to go anywhere. But I think they were pretty accepting that it wasn't going to go anywhere with regard to West Ham. In the end, Juventus haven't been able to agree that deal. Tim Steidten's flown out to France. He's talked to Nice. He's talked to the player. And within 24 hours, he's brought him back. He's completed a medical. And Todibo could be a West Ham United player within 48 hours. It's incredible work from West Ham United and Tim Steidten. And furthermore, just an update on that news that we brought you a bit earlier on with regard to Wan-Bissaka and West Ham's pursuit of the Manchester United right-back. We're told that this deal is progressing. It's getting closer, and I know I've been saying closer for the last 3 weeks. I'm trying to think of different ways to say this deal is close, but trust me, it's close. And a lot of the details of the deal have been agreed, including the personal terms, including the club-to-club. It was just a stumbling block with his exit terms. And I think West Ham United were a little bit nervy about this, because the same thing kind of happened last summer when they tried to sign Harry Maguire. And in the end, I don't think Harry Maguire could agree exit terms with Manchester United. But it looks like this one is progressing in a more positive manner than the Maguire deal. So aside of the players that I've mentioned, Kilman earlier on in the window, Somerville, Füllkrug, Guido Rodriguez, Jean-Claire Todibo, and now potentially Wan-Bissaka. And of course, if that happens, Manchester United can then pursue a deal for the Bayern Munich right-back, Nusret Mazraoui. Michael, look, I've gone on quite long there, but apologies. But West Ham, you've heard all of those players that they're buying and are about to buy. They've certainly backed Julian Lopetegui in this summer's window, haven't they?
While you were talking, I was actually thinking in my head about West Ham's potential 11, and it looks really strong. Todibo and Max Kilman to start with, but I thought Kudus was a great signing last season, the signing from Ajax, and we don't know what's going to happen with Paquetá yet, but he's obviously on the brink of a world-class. Jared Bowen, brilliant. They've signed a new striker. They look really strong. Now, the issue they've got, obviously, next season, they were brilliant in Europe. In the Europa League under David Moyes, they won the Conference League. They're not going to be in Europe. We talk about pressure at West Ham. There's always going to be pressure with those supporters, but they fill it out every week after week at the London Stadium. Do you know what they'll want?
Go and win an FA Cup. Go and win a League Cup. Go and win a domestic trophy. That would be the challenge for me. But then they've got a very good manager as well. So I think West Ham fans should be certainly excited.
And naturally, when a manager has been there as long as David Moyes has, you will notice the change. It is evident when a new manager does come in after that length of time. So clearly, it's a club that wants to show that the West Ham fan base may be torn about, do we need to be careful what we wish for? Do we need to stick with David Moyes, or do we move on in a new direction? Clearly, if you do take the decision to move on in a new direction, you've got to back the new manager. And that's certainly what West Ham are doing, because on the face of it, we'll see when the football starts next weekend just exactly how it happens on the pitch. But they certainly appear to be quite happy to back Lopetegui.
Yeah, it's been some window that for West Ham United. Could still be some window for Arsenal. We've spoken about Eddie Nketiah to Marseille for a while, Paul.
Yep.
Could this one eventually happen now? Is it moving towards that direction?
Potentially, it could fall into one of those close category. You know, it could happen. Marseille have had 2 bids rejected already for Eddie Nketiah. They are expected to reopen talks for the Arsenal forward. Our information is that a gap in valuation still exists, but there is a feeling that it's not insurmountable, so be a problem. It's just a case of, can the 2 clubs find an agreement? So I think there's enough there that it could happen. They could find a way through that.
Yeah, Roberto De Zerbi, of course, the head coach at Marseille, looking at the Premier League for players, isn't he? Højbjerg has come in, Mason Greenwood has come in, and now looking at Eddie Nketiah as well. Just a potential other departure for Arsenal, which we have been speaking about during this transfer window, is Reiss Nelson. He wants to assess all of his options, of course. Leicester City, we understand, had been in talks. There was interest from West Ham United as well during this transfer window, but now with the arrival of Crysencio Somerville, that one might now have cooled down. But it's our understanding that Reiss Nelson's preference would probably be to stay in the Premier League. So it's definitely one to watch. Eddie Nketiah potentially to Marseille, and Reiss Nelson potentially on the move as well. Paul, I just want to stick with Arsenal for a moment. We've been talking about potential departures. We know that Ricardo Calafiori has come in. They've been looking and interested in Mikel Merino. Has there been any development on that?
No, I think Merino is a player that Arsenal clearly like, but the last we heard, the information was that it's not quite at a stage where they're likely to make progress on that. So that, of course, could change throughout this window, but there's been no significant process. I know some sources in Spain have told us today there have been no formal offers to Real Sociedad for Moreno, or indeed Zubimendi, who's of interest to a number of clubs, including Liverpool. So that's not to say those negotiations are ongoing behind the scenes. Certainly try and find ways, but really the formal offer tends to come in most cases when a club really gets the feeling that this is going to happen. So it's one of those not to get too carried away with just yet, but that, you know, negotiations and talks kind of ongoing, see if they can find some common ground and ideally bring him to Arsenal. But no formal offer or no advanced discussions at this stage.
Michael, I spoke about Ricardo Calafiori before as the big summer signing for Arsenal so far. You've been on this programme and eulogised about that signing as well. Do they need any more?
I think if they do, then Mikel Arteta and Edu will be very clear, and they'll know when to do it, because their recruitment over the last few years has been pretty outstanding. And Mikel Arteta, when he first became Arsenal manager, made some pretty ruthless decisions. So whatever, for me, I think whatever Mikel Arteta thinks, just go with it. I personally think they look very, very strong, and I think they'll get very close to Manchester City, and it could be the year where they go one further.
Gentlemen, thank you for now. We'll be back straight after the break, where these two gentlemen will be bringing us news from all 20 Premier League clubs. That's in our Premier League wrap. Stay with us.
Right, it's time for our Premier League wrap. Paul, take it away.
Yeah, let's start with Arsenal. Marseille and Arsenal are still apart in their valuation of Eddie Nketiah, but there is a willingness on both sides to work it out. The player himself is open to the move.
Well, Aston Villa remain in talks with Fulham over the potential sale of defender Diego Carlos.
Bournemouth head coach Andoni Areola concedes losing Dominic Solanke would be a big miss, but the club have a list of potential replacements.
The Premier League returns a week today and Brentford are yet to receive any formal offers for Ivan Toney.
Brighton remain in talks with Celtic over midfielder Matt O'Reilly, but Mark Leonard has joined Birmingham.
Chelsea have agreed a deal in excess of £50 million with Wolves for winger Pedro Neto.
Crystal Palace have held tentative discussions with Galatasaray over a potential return for Wilf Zaha. Zaha is not in the Galatasaray squad tonight.
Well, wages could be the issue with Everton's hopes of signing Manchester City midfielder Calvin Phillips.
Diego Carlos tops Fulham's list of potential centre-back signings. Talks with Aston Villa continue.
Ipswich target Sami Szmodics is on the Blackburn bench for their championship opener tonight.
Leicester are close to announcing the signing of Facundo Buonanotte from Brighton.
Well, as it stands tonight, Real Sociedad have not received any official offers for Liverpool target Mikel Zubimende, although the player does have a release clause, so things could move quite quickly.
Pep Guardiola told us he isn't sure whether Manchester City will replace Julian Alvarez. The forward is on the brink of an £82 million move to Atletico Madrid.
Manchester United have held talks with a number of players, including Sander Berge and Youssef Fofana, as they look to sign a midfielder.
Newcastle have had a second bid rejected by Crystal Palace for Mark Guehi.
Well, Ellie Anderson has been Nottingham Forest's big summer signing so far, but Nuno Espirito Santo looking to add more before the Premier League gets underway.
Sky in Germany are reporting that Hoffenheim are the latest club to make an offer for Amel Bella-Kotchap. Southampton have already rejected a bid from Stuttgart.
Tottenham have agreed a deal worth up to £65 million with Bournemouth for Dominic Solanke. A medical will start tonight and finish over the weekend.
West Ham are closing in on the signing of defender Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice.
And as we've reported, Wolves have accepted a £50 million plus offer from Chelsea for Pedro Neto. And good news for this man here, Gary O'Neill has signed a new contract with the club.
On Wednesday, we set out to be live at all 72 EFL clubs ahead of the new season. We have reached our final club. Someday for Gary Cottrell, who's now at Oxford.
So sorry I've let everybody down. What a 3 days it's been, going to every single EFL club, all the people, all the colour, all the training grounds, all the stadiums. It's been so well done, and we were going to be number 72 to complete the whole picture, to make it a record 3 days, and we've had a puncher. We won't be able to get to Oxford. It's all been spoilt, and it's down to me. Just kidding. Here we go, we're in a pub garden, in fact, just down the road from the stadium, and they're getting prepared for this game tomorrow, back in the Championship. Look at that. That is going to be a 45-metre long homemade banner. Man in charge, I've obviously got lots of help. There he is working away at it. Kieran there in the middle in the white shirt. Kieran, can I step on it?
Should be able to.
Right, very quickly. We're going to lean over. So tell us what it's going to say.
So it's going to be the boys are back in town. A little teaser. We've got other stuff going on at the stadium tomorrow. I'm not going to give it all away, but yeah, a little teaser for everyone out there.
How much are you looking forward to being in the Championship, you know, and maybe even going up again?
First time in my lifetime, so I'm looking forward to it. Loads of new away games, loads of new atmospheres to go and, you know, experience. So really looking forward to it, as the rest of them are as well.
Well, it's quite fitting, guys. Keep going with that. Look forward to seeing it tomorrow. It's quite fitting that Oxford is the last club we come to on this tour, because obviously they were the last club to get in to the Championship, and they're really, really enjoying every moment. Let's go over to this table here, meet all kinds of... There you go. Now that is a very, very old rattle indeed, and rattling through this table, because we're short, see what I did there, we've got all kinds of memorabilia. Come round here to these, quickly rattle us through your programmes through the years,
sir. Game I can remember going to, 1962, still in the Southern League, first season, Oxford United, the FA Cup run. My first away game there, 0-0 draw. First game away in the top flight, 1985-86, 1-1 draw. First home game in the top flight. Same season, 0-0 draw. First win, 5-0.
When's that date from, that first one?
The first one, 1962, Easter Monday.
Blimey, it's about my age, that. About my age. I think it's wearing slightly better than me. Right, let's carry on moving around the table, and here's a face I'm sure loads of you recognise. James Constable. Beanie?
Beano, yeah.
Beano.
Yeah.
That's your nickname, why?
Yeah. Had it since I was at school. It's something that stuck, and it has followed me throughout my career.
Now, you scored quite a few goals for Oxford, didn't you? One of the legends there.
Well, I tried, obviously, I was paid to score goals, but I enjoyed scoring goals. That's what I did growing up, and what I've always enjoyed throughout my career.
At Wembley as well?
Yeah, special moment for me to captain the side, but also score on a day that meant so much to the club.
And I know you don't like to mention Chester, but here's a story very quickly. He would have been the record goal scorer of all time for Oxford, but for Chester. Tell us about that.
Yeah, scored a hat-trick on that game, and unfortunately they went out of business later on that season and ended up losing the 3 goals.
So the records were wiped clean?
Yeah, the loss of goals. Still got the match ball and still served the suspension for the yellow, but yeah, no, unfortunately not all-time top goal scorer.
And you've still got a role at the club now, and tell us about that role and your thoughts about, championship football.
Yeah, back now working with the first team as a player liaison, which for me as a player that have been around the club in the National League days to now be on the brink of stepping out in the Championship is phenomenal where the club's got to, and just a testament really to the staff and the supporters that have drove it all this time.
Well, to thank for all this is Joe. Tell us what we call you, Joe. You're coordinator, I guess, of the Yellow Army. Would that be about right?
I think I tried to be, yeah. I think we've got such an amazing fan base and an amazing club that, we've got potential that, yeah, it's nice to try and get everyone together to achieve that.
And, again, your feelings, speaking on behalf of the fans and yourself, but, that promotion, that playoff victory and now in the Championship.
Oh, last season was fantastic. We were kind of out of it at one point, but then we turned it around and everyone at the club came together. You're talking about the fans, the manager, the chairman, the whole community, and yeah, it was fantastic. We went from looking like we're going to be out of it to winning at Wembley, and being back in the Championship for the first time in 25 years is unreal. So
Can you stay there?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We'll give it a real good go, yeah.
Thanks very much. Let's just go over here to this table of Oxford fans. Hello, what's your name?
Chloe.
Hello, Chloe. I like the hat.
Thank you.
And you've got your face paint as well?
Yeah, and the hat's reversible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Go on, stick that on me. Can I borrow it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. And who's this?
Jake.
Jake?
Yeah.
Jake, is that all the autographs of the players I can see on your hat?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good thing to have, isn't it? Who's your favourite player?
Ruben Rodriguez.
Oh, wow. And are you looking forward to Norwich?
Yeah.
Can you stay in the league?
Yeah.
And there's Dad over there. Hello, Dad. I'm going to speak, I assume, Mum.
Yeah, he's
wife.
Mum,
Yeah.
definitely.
What's your name?
Laura.
Laura.
Laura, hello.
And you're a big fan, right?
Massive fan. We're all massive fans.
All
yeah.
your life?
All our lives, yeah. These two have been Chloe was 6 weeks old for her first game.
Really?
Yeah, Jake was about the same as well.
Wow, can you remember any of it?
Yeah, we love
try not
it.
to get my
I know,
shadow
it's
on
all
your
right,
face.
thank you. Don't worry.
So what are you feeling about being in the Championship?
I can't believe it. It's a dream come true. I just keep saying to the kids, we're going to enjoy every second. Like, really are. It's going to be incredible, isn't it? Yeah, just enjoy it. Absolutely. I'm a bit nervous now. The nerves are kicking in, and you keep reading all the things about the predictions for the bottom of the table and all that. But I can't wait. It'll be amazing.
Do you think that's wrong? Do you think you can hold your own? Maybe even go straight up to the Premier League?
Oh, well, this one thinks it. We're going to do an Ipswich apparently. So yeah, got a dream to believe it, haven't you? So yeah, we're going to enjoy every second. So.
Well, enjoy the sunshine and enjoy the new challenge for Oxford. Well, there you go. I think the hat suits me. That's it. 72 clubs, everyone involved has been great. The camera crews, the producers, everyone back at base, and we've done it. What a marathon. And we end quite rightly at Oxford.
Wow, 72 live. Fantastic few days. Let's get back to some transfers because there's a few lines happening at the moment. Paulo. It's taken a while. And it was a while since that gag as well. But David De Gea has got a new club, finally. What can you tell us?
Finally, can you believe that it was the FA Cup final in 2023, the last time David De Gea played a professional game of football? He has signed for Fiorentina on a one-year contract. He did previously have talks with Genoa. They couldn't agree personal terms, but he has finally now found the club. He has joined Fiorentina. That's official. and he will sign a one-year contract. He has signed a one-year contract.
Michael, we've been talking about big deals today. Solanke, 65 million. Neto, 54 million. Gallagher, 36 million. Todibo, potentially another 34 million. Mark Guehi to Newcastle. That could be a big one. Palace have rejected 2 bids from Newcastle, we know. How's this one going to play out, do you think?
Well, Palace have a valuation that's around £65 million. That's nowhere near where Newcastle have gone so far. The only reason why I think there's legs to this, because Guehi has 2 years left on his contract, so Palace might decide that that's the time to potentially cash in. What I will say is that Palace are very good in the market. They're not panicking, and Guehi isn't really panicking himself. He's come off the back of a fantastic Euros for England, so I think this one might rumble on to next week.
Fantastic stuff, guys. Thank you very much indeed. Michael Bridge and Paul Gilmore. And of course, the transfer show will be returning on Monday from 5 o'clock and at 7 o'clock as well. And of course, we've got Good Morning Transfers and Transfer Talk as well from Monday. A bit of Olympics news to bring you. And Katarina Johnson-Thompson, what a story. She was so close to claiming a gold medal. It's been an incredible few years, trials and tribulations with injuries, but or beat the current Olympic champion, Nafi Thiam, by over 8 seconds. It wasn't to be, and she's won 3 Olympics in a row. As for Sky Sports News, we'll be back with more transfer news after the break. But as you know, it's here and it's a few minutes away. Blackburn Rovers against Derby. It's the start of the EFL season. Cannot wait.